Shoot, it like it ain't gonna go live. It's gonna look like another end. We live. Yeah, I see it. Oh, yeah, share screen. Well, shoot, before I even share my screen, man, um, I'm gonna say black. Excuse me, I got some black African power family. Um, welcome to Kofi Piesie TV. Today I'll be presenting a presentation on Queen Warrior Maha Musa. I want to say ETM Hotel, Dua Aku, Dua Nature, Fatmu Alafie, Fatmu Iwa Pele, Majuba Iba E, Egungun, Majuba Iba E, Elekba, uh, Egungun Kiki Egungun. I always have to give honor and praises to the ancestors, because without the ancestors, we wouldn't be here. I got Brother Vasa Nicolo on the panel. Y'all know who Brother Vasa Nicolo is. I got Brother Enia Red Sean California on the presentation before I share my screen. If you brothers got anything to say, or do you brothers have anything to say?
Nah, man, I'm here to learn, man. Peace to the family, peace to the chat, peace to everybody that'll watch the video.
Peace to everybody, and I'm sitting back taking my notes.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen. Peace to everybody in the chat and those that may come later on. Straggling in the chat, but peace to my name is Jade. Peace, 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 sis. Peace to she is simply unique. Peace, peace, peace. Damn, I'm
Man in the full knowledge of himself is a superb and supreme creature of creation. When man becomes possessor of the knowledge of himself, he becomes master of his environment, the captain of his own ship, the director of his own destiny, the accomplisher of his own ends. Man should understand himself because man is full of knowledge, and this knowledge is a gift of nature. When Mother Nature created man, she deprived him of nothing. He was given the faculty of understanding all things around him. This faculty for understanding has not been taken away from him. None of his senses have been taken away from him. So there is no excuse to black man. Bridging my team, red, black, and green, queen and king, salute, now scream, I should bring from another hit, I should. I'm red, black, and green, queen and king, salute, now scream, I should bring from another hit, I should. I should.
all right. Today's presentation again is called Queen Warrior Maha Musa. First, I want to say Majuba Iba E, Elekba, Majuba Iba E, Elekba, Majuba Iba E, Elekba. That's respect and honor to the ancestors. She is a ancestor. Queen Warrior Muhumuza is a ancestor. So peace and respect and honors to this queen. Excuse me. Also, those in the chat, I see a few more coming in the chat. Peace to those others that's coming in the chat. Please like the show, share the show, tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend about the show. Tell someone that you think that may enjoy this presentation and get something out of this presentation. All right, I always have to put a disclaimer out here before I get started. I am not a teacher, but merely a student sharing information. And that information provided is for the educational purpose only. And if you are in doubt, do the research and have it verified by someone qualified. I reserve the rights to change the focus of this presentation to shut down or sell or exchange. The terms and use is my own discretion. All trademarks, design rights, copyrights, registered names, uh, names, mottos, logos, avatars, the signals, and marks used or cited by this website or its property owners, respective owners. I reserve the right to add information as it comes available, or adapt changes or improve information as it comes available in the future. Inputs wanted, changes, additions, deletions are encouraged. This is my saying. As I learn, we all learn. I think this is a powerful saying. As we continue to learn things, or we continue to expand our mind, no matter what it is, I think we should share it and pass it down to one another. This is my new saying. Let's get this culture. A lot of us don't understand the culture, don't understand the tradition, so we are here to give you a proper understanding of your culture. All right. During the European colonial era, Africans from all across the continent fought back to expel these down pressing forces in order to regain their rightful independence from exploitation and tyranny rules. A notable anti-colonial resistance movement led by a lady named Maha Musa, also spelled Maha Musa, took place in the early 20th century in the southern western Uganda. Maha Musa is seen as one of the many fantastic warrior kings in African history. So let's get into why they say that she is a fantastic warrior queen in African history. All right. However, the whole movement itself began with the Inyabinghi religion, which came out of many centuries before Maha Musa birth. Niha, Nyabinghi, and I don't know I'm pronouncing it wrong. I'm trying to get it right. Inyabinghi, it might be Inyabihi, was one of the several prominent religions in the Kijinzi districts of Uganda in the pre-colonial Africa. According to the oral tradition, in the 1700s, a queen named Inyabihi ruled over the kingdom of Karagwe in northern western region in what is known now as Tanzania. Karagwe was one of the great of the East Africa. The modern day district of the same name of Tanzania would have been a part of this large ancient kingdom. So before we get into talking about the warrior queen Maha, we're going to talk about Inya Binhi, this woman who also was a warrior, and after her death, this religion, they started a whole religion behind this religion was also called Inyabihi, which was named after this woman. Binji is believed for her father, who was still in the Karig in the northern part of Uganda, and Nodora from Bugiji to the northern Uganda. Her awakening signal for others, including Ethiopian warriors fighting the British. It is also said that the Queen Matapa of Angola, who died in 1663, fought the Portuguese in her name, while Uganda Queen Mahusa conquered in her name too. In southern western Uganda, Iya Kishini caves are one of the most important spiritual sites for many years. It is believed that Iyabinji settled there on her way to Rwanda. From the late 18th century onward, many of the local religions were substituted with the worship of Iyabinji, the goddess. Inya Kishini became one, and again, excuse me for the mispronunciations, became one of the central sites of Iyabinji worship. In 1979, Iyabinji worship even even used the caves to launch a rebellion against the British colonial rule. This is before you get into uh, uh, Mahu Musa. This is the woman who they said, which we'll get into. Well, we'll get more into the presentation, how she is linked to uh, Mahusa. Inya worshipped even the caves and launched a rebellion against the British colonial rule. The rebels burnt down nearby administrating buildings before killing a number of worshippers involved. Iya Benji, known all over the world by a different name, including Iya Baishi, Inya Benji, or Inya Benhi, is also the daughter of King Ragusa in Dole. Now, family, let's get into her story and the name real quick. We're gonna get a little bit more into Inya Benji, and then we'll go more back into Mahu Musa, so you can see how they linked together. But I wanted to tell the story of warrior, this warrior queen first, and what she did, and then how it sprung from what she did into a religion. King Indahara, the father of Ragusa Indoli, had brothers among them. Was one called Bayinshi, and the other one called Bamara. Biyahishi had a plan to be the brother's successor, and as Bamara was to his brother's side, knowing that Biyishi wanted to kill his brother before his death, Indara sent his son Ragusa, who was a little boy, to live in Karamara residence. Karamara was the husband of Iyabunya. Iyabunyani was the Indaharo brothers-in-law. I will get back to this story uh, when I am about to talk about the Ragusa story. I'm going to talk about the Ragusa story uh, real quick and go back into her, but it's important that I talk about this story. Ragasa lived in Karugu and grew up to be a boy until he became back to Rwanda. When Ragusa was in Karari in today's Tanzania, he had a love affair with Iyabunya servant, and from that love affair, Ragusa made this servant pregnant. Iyabuyani asked the servant to tell her who was the author of the pregnancy. The servant told her that it was Ragusi. At the time, he was called Indoli. Ragusi was his kingship name. Now they are talking about Ragusi. He was one of supposed to be a successor to his father's son. This here is Iya Benji father here. In Wanda tradition, it was prohibited for the future king to have sexual intercourse with anyone while in exile, and this is what they did in their kingdom. Those who will became to the throne or next in line, they was exiled out of the country until they became a certain age, and then they came back. They had a fear that the next successor in line would be killed, so the next in line will be exiled and then come back to the kingdom, come back later on to reclaim his kingship. Future kings to have sexual intercourse with anyone while exile. Kabunda was a tradition done when the king had enemies and thought that they may kill his successor. In order to protect the future king, he was taken from the king's palace to another place. Inyabinji leads Karawingi to Indora. After Inya Banyani knew that her servant was pregnant and that Ragusi was the author of the pregnancy, she became very sad. In Kara, excuse me, there were two people who were aware of Ragusi was the future Radanian king. These people were Iya Buyani and Kavana. Kavana was Nadora's servant. Nadaro sent him with his son to Karawi. Kavana's mission was to see in Karawi. So this is how uh Inyabinji and her mother ended up, and Ragusi ended up. Well, where Ragusi ended up in this place for protection, and the servant ended. Well, the servant also ended up there because well, ended up exiled. The servant was exiled because of Ragusi getting the servant pregnant at this particular time. Iyabuyani called Kavana and told him about the mission. It is said that Kavana advised Iyabuyani to let the servant have the baby and then chase away the servant with the baby, because it was going to be a shame to see a king in exile having a baby. And this at this point of time, he was not the king, and during exile, he could not have a child. Iyabunyani agreed to this suggestion, and soon as the girl was born, she was shaded away with her mother. Iyabunyani and Kavana named the girl Inya B. Inshi. Now, this was one of the names. You got Inba Ishi, Inba, meaning this, we're going to get into why they name her this particular name. It is almost similar to Ragusi brother name, who also would have been would also been in line for the throne. They also requested the servant to tell everyone that the girl was Biyaishi daughter. The servant agreed, and this was Ragusi's brother, and this was Iyabishi uncle. Left Kyrie and the gift from Iyabuyani, they will help her raise the girl and instruct her where she will go and how she will reach their destination. Kavana followed the Ibayani instructions. He took her daughter, Inya Bishi, meaning the daughter of Baishi, out of Karawi, traveled for several days. They arrived to Indori, probably at a place known today as Inyakishiyi, and I'm pronouncing the name, cave in Uganda. This place is still visited by the Bakwisis and other people who continue to honor the tradition of religion. So after she was exiled, Ragusi, uh, mother of his child, who was a servant of his father uh, and mother, was put in. Well, she had to leave because Ragusi was already in exile. He couldn't have a marriage. He couldn't have a child in exile. He was in exile because, again, they feared that the next successor in line may be killed by one of the king's enemies. So she had the baby, and they told uh, before it got out to anyone, they made a claim that it was Ragusi's brother's child. So they named the child after Ragusi brother, which is Imbaishi's uncle. Inyabinji leads Karawi to Indora. And again, I'm just talking about Inyabinji, trying to give y'all a backstory of who this queen was before and how she links to Mahusa and how the religion started. And we'll get into that. I don't want to give everything away. Inyabinji leads Karawi to Indora. After Inyabanyani knew that her servant was pregnant and that Raguzi was the author in pregnancy, she became very sad. Oh, I think I went to the same slide. Hold on. Yeah, I went back instead of forward. Okay, Inyabin leaves Carolyn. I think I read this. Noon, her servant was pregnant, and that Ragusi was the author. I think I put that on there twice. Okay, Inyabunyani and Kavana named the girl. I went to. How did I go back too far? Want to follow the instructions? Okay. Okay, Queen Imbaini then married Rahuda, and the chief short-lived in Pororo kingdom, in which spanned an area. Hold on, y'all. I want to make sure I'm not leaving out anything. I arrowed up and should have been arrowing down. Let me see. Paul to hold him the mission. King in exile. Ian agreed to the suggestion. Soon the girl was born. Okay, now Ibanya agreed to the suggestion. I'll go back and read this. Ibayani called Kavana and told him about the mission. It is said that the Kavana's advice of the Iyabayani to leave the servant have the baby and then chase away the servant with the baby because it was going to be shame for the king in exile to have a baby. Iyabuyani agreed to this suggestion, and soon as the girl was born, she was shaded away with her mother. Buyani and Kavana named the girl, like I said, after the brother. I'll go down because I read this. Kavana followed Ibayani instructions. He took her daughter, Ibayani, meaning daughter of Biyainshi, out of Karawi, traveled for several days. They arrived in Indora, probably at a place known today as Kishi Cave of Uganda. This place is still visited by the Bawisis and other people who continue to honor the traditions and the religion today. Queen Iyabihin then married Rahuda, a chief of a short-lived Ipororo kingdom. Now we're talking about the daughter has grown up and she has married a king named Rahanda, a chief, a short-lived of Impororo kingdom, which spanned the area would now recognize as a southwestern Uganda. Rahinda remained in Karawi and devised a plan up to overthrow. Now he's trying to overthrow his own wife, Iya Bahim, in order to take complete control of her kingdom. he succeeded with his plan and had his wife killed. It was said that the spirit of Iya Behin terrorized Rahindi and his stolen kingdom years after her passing, as well as anybody who enabled him to conduct a coup d'etat against her. So now she has grown up. She has done things with her father that I reiterated in the first um, presentation, and now she has married another individual who was the chief of a certain kingdom, which was short lived, and now he wanted to overthrow his own wife of her own kingdom. So he had her killed, and after he had her killed, uh, the story has went on that through his reign, she has terrorized her own husband for stealing her kingdom. Now, the Iyabihim cult started soon afterwards, and it is provided by a sanctuary. I'm going to say culture started soon afterward, and it's provided a sanctuary for many people targeted by the regimes at the time. As it's stated by the culture members, her spirit was to be maintained through manifestation exclusively with further generations of women in nearby regions. Iyabinji priestess, known as Barawa, singular form of Mugara, followed a process named Oku Waji and Oku Terra Tarek Era, and I'm pronouncing it wrong again. Excuse me for the mispronunciation. I know they take these names very seriously and the pronunciation very seriously in order to induct their daughter into the culture. The induction was necessary because any of the non-induct women would have been enabled to become the next personification of the EIB in Baha'i spirit. So now they are trying to start a spiritual system or religion or a way of life after this queen here. So now they are going through trying to induct certain people into this certain women into these certain things so they can be a personification or Iyabihi can possess, because there is a story or a legend that she was possessing other women. Her spirit was taking over other women's um, for the cause and for the fight and etc. As a result, Bagari introduced their daughter to the system of early possible convenience so that they would have had a large number of eligible women who would have been in the position of inheriting the spirit once it forms the owner dies. This ensures that the work of a queen Iyabihi could continue. In later years, it is belief became lesser restricted, and the first Iyabihi priest also came into existence. The Abimi, singular for Mwami, meaning king of the kingdom of Rwanda, became increasingly aware of Iyabihin followings, and since it became and grew rapidly, it was common for the Mwami to demand that suspect heirs of her spirit to be targeted and murdered in an attempt to negate any powerful rebellion forces from arising. This shows that a large potential power offered by Iya Binhi's spirit was feared greatly at a time. It is centuries between Iya Bihi death and the rise prominence experienced by Musa. Religion had gained huge support, becoming a, a bastions of anti-establishmentism in response to the Tutsis rule in Rwanda and its associate terrorists. Most inherited, and then those that know about the Tutsi people, you had the Tutsi people and the Hutu people. The Tutsi and the Hutu people, they say were the same people. You know, you had one that was farmers. You had one that was animal husbandries, and the Tutsi people. You had the Germans that came in, the Europeans that came in, and they split the two, and they made Tutsi the rulers over the Houthi people. That's a whole nother story in Rwanda. So I just wanted to throw that in there. It's talking about the Tutsi people in Rwanda and its associate terrorists. Most most are heard in the Iyabin belong to an ethnic group known as Bakiga, people of the mountain, as many of them were peasants, and they too wanted to see social change. And this is the time now that the Germans or the Europeans are in this area. And again, they position, or they put one group of people against another group of people. They made one group dominant than the other group of people, made one group of people feel better than the other group of people, made another group of people uh, made it more hard for another group of people. And these are people I'm talking about are the Tutsi and the Houthi people. And I posted some information, a bunch of information up on the Masi Warrior Clan like page. If you want to get in there, I posted a bunch of links. I think it's about 5 different links, articles, and different books that reference to a lot of this stuff that was going on at this particular time, with the Europeans coming in and pinning two ethnic African groups against one another. Uh, Ma, uh, Mamu, Mahu Musa was the widow of the Kajira the Fourth of Rawa Bajiri, the Imwami of the kingdom of Rwanda toward the end of the 19th century. Or, and man, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it again, was known as one of the most powerful Ambi in the history of Rwanda, and the first to have come into contact with the Europeans. Maha Musa was left a widow after her husband. This is her husband. I'm not even trying to pronounce his name again. Was betrayed and substantially assassinated by his stepmother, who was working with the Europeans in order to install her own son into power, Musinga. The negative influence of the European colonial power was almost instantaneous. Instantaneous. This led to years of instability in the region, which is followed by continuing an animus between the Tutsi and the Houthi people, culminating in the Rwanda genocide almost 2 centuries later in 1994, whose ugly legacy prevalent today in the present Rwandan society. Mahu Musa and her son Ndangusi, the rightful blood heirs to the thrones, was forced into exiles into the mountain. They was forced into the mountains into exile after her husband, stepmother, had him assassinated. Queen Musa husband, Mwami Kajir the Fourth. This is him right here. He was assassinated by his own um, stepmother. Here are some pictures right here before we go into further. When we're talking about the kings, this is some just showing some of the headwear in this area that they wear, or a certain type of crown, or I don't know what the wording is for, but this is a couple of pictures. Now here is the stepmother here. His stepmother and the brother, she was working for the European. Again, you had the Germans that was in that area at that time. I think you had the Germans, and I think the British was in there. The British was in that region too. So they started working. They started working, you know what I'm saying, um, for the European at this particular time, and had her um, um, Imahusa husband assassinated so that her son could come to the throne. And they pushed her out into exile into the mountains. Initially, due to the facts that they were former royalty, both of them were not received well by the peasants. However, the two of them quickly learned to live with the Bakika, and it is here where Mahu Musa was exposed to the Iyabinji teaching. So again, I had to go back and talk about talk about Inya Binghi, and I'm pronouncing that queen name wrong as well. But again, I had to go back there and kind of walk y'all down through the story and how they started a religion after this woman after she passed, and how Mahusa ended up as she was royalty as well as her husband, and her husband was killed or assassinated by her stepmother in order for her son to go to the throne. And they was working hand in hand with the government at this time. They had colonized this area, set up a structure of government. They put two different groups against two ethnic African groups against each other, where they was warring against each other, made one feel better than the other. They was colonizing that area, so they went to work for that area, and they pushed uh, Mahu Musa and her son into the mountains at this particular time. And as she went into this particular time in the mountains, she went and she was around the Bagiga people. And as she was around this Bagiga people, the Bagiga people was the ones who set up this system or this religion or this way of life or this spirituality um, concept behind this woman where each woman they was trying to groom in order for the spirit to possess these women so Iyabihi could live on forever. So this is how Muhumuza got exposed to the religion or to the teachings. From the non-inherit, she rose into the Magurua and eventually gained full leadership thanks to her powerful character, intelligence, and charismatics, and was reverenced as the next reincarnation of Iyabihi herself. This gave her the religion and political legitimacy she required to gather a large enough following to support her desires to rid the kingdoms of its puppet rulers and to restore the Indangusis as the rightful Imwami. She became increasingly hostile toward a European colonialists who were manipulating Musinge. And Musinge is the one who was at the throne. Again, Musinge is um, the one who took the throne after Maha Musa's husband was assassinated. Musinge's mother, which was Musa's stepmother, had him assassinated in order for her son to take the throne, and they both worked hand in hand with the Germans who colonized that area at that particular time to enforce themselves in the region. Muhumuza was arrested and jailed in 1908 by a German and a collaborator with Rwanda forces for her continuous aggressive against the colonial powers. At this time, as she was exposed to the new religion that was around Iyabihi, and who said that the spirit of her was, or Iyabihi had possessed Maha Musa at this particular time, and she began to rally. People began to rally behind her, and she began a movement in order to try to push and move the Germans out of their area. In 1900, the Germans collaborated were under force for her continuous aggressive against the colonial power. She was arrested. They finally caught her. She was excuse me. She was arrested, and now she was released 2 years later and immediately returned to overthrow the puppet government. She wasn't going to give up, even though they arrested her. She wasn't going to give up. The puppet government to no avail. Hold on. She changed her tactics thereafter. She returned to the region's name of Dora, and in the Odyssey plans founded a new kingdom there. The support for this was a huge, and for both the Iyabihin and the locals who were also disgraced by the colonialism. In 1911, Muhumuza launched her last attack against the opposing forces, and in the form of an ambush on members of the Anglo-Belgian/German Boundaries Commission. By this time, the British had also got involved in Rwanda, and they responded to this by killing 40 of Maha Musa's fighters, as well as shooting her in the foot before finally capturing her. Maha Musa, with her tactical acumen and deeper understanding of the harm colonialism, would have brought to this country than many of her followers, was seen as to the greatest of the threat of integrity of the colonial control, and was thus deported to Mingo in Kampala, where she died in 1944 and 1945. She never got an opportunity to return to Kaziga. Although she had been expelled, she had inspired a whole anti-colonial struggle of Rwanda in the name of Iyabihinyi. These British were so fearful of what could come that they wrote that the Witchcraft Act in 1912, which outlawed practices non-orthodox beliefs such as the Iyabihinyi. They feared this new way of life or new religion or new spirituality of Iyabihi possessing women and giving them that power to try to fight and overthrow uh, the European or the colonial government. So they feared it, so they outlawed it, and they always try to call our systems witchcraft. So they wrote a act in behalf of the Iyabahim religion in order to reduce the political power and provide. Thus, the struggle continued on a large scale until 1928, when the last uprising, led by a man named E. Dungudutsi, was squashed by the government forces, and he, along with 20 of his followers, was arrested and kept in captivity. The legend of Iyabihi was one of the most defining in history of the Ugandan and Rwanda region through the support fight for freedom and justice, most notable and during her earlier colonial area, while the distinct forces were unfortunately overpowered by the European weaponry. Their values and passions inspired by the Iyabihi and the woman such as Maha Musa is a story to behold and to remember. Queen Iyabinji and Iya Bihinji resistance inspired the Rastafarians in Jamaica, who were attuned to the region because of their alliance to the king of Ethiopia. They adopted the Queen Iyabinji as a spirit of liberations whose power would overcome down oppressors. The order of Iyabinji became an important culture touchstone. Drummings and chantings in Yabinji took on the meaning of overcoming oppressors and destroying those who committed injustice. So again, Iyabinji, she uh after she was killed by her husband and the things that she did, she helped her father fight against colonialism and even certain things that was happening in Ethiopia region. She was there fighting as well. This is how the Rastafarians got a hold of who Iyabinji was, and they ended up adopting the Queen Iyabinji as a spirit or or their liberation, whose power could overcome or down any oppression because of that rebel spirit that she had and the rebel spirit that Maha Musa had. So they created a whole Rastafarian movement or a whole Rastafarian religion behind her as well. Iya Benji's order. So these are some of the orders, PowerPoints here that the Rastafarians had. They broke up into like a lot of different branches. So you have the Iya Benji is the oldest of all the Rastafarian supergroups. The Iya Benjis attempt to keep the links between the Rastafarian faith and the African heritage close. The group is named after Queen Iya Benji, who ruled Uganda in the 19th centuries and helped reduce the influence of the colonial powers. The name Iya Ben is believed to mean death to all the oppressors. The focus of this group is on the veneration of Haile Selassie, who is regarded by them as the embodiment of God. Ethiopia is very important to the sect, which emphasize the respirations of the blacks of Africa. The Iyabihi reward water, air, and fire as a representation of elements of life. Fire is believed to represent the wrath of Jah pouring down on Babylon. Iyabihiji eat organic produce only, such as vegetables, fruits, herbs, barks, avoid the consumptions of salt. The Iyabihis takes part in a regular groundation, often called the Binghi groundation. The word groundation means affirmation, affirmations, affirmations of life through earth. It is the importance of Ethiopians to Iyabihi. The flag tends to have the color green first. The Yabihini flag also features a lion in the central, reflecting the lion of Judah slash Haile Selassie the First. Iyabahi observed the Ethiopian Sabbath. Tuesdays, Iyabahi tries to use Ethiopian language and Henharic. What is what is Maha Musa legacy? She inspired a whole anti-colonial struggle in Rwanda. Rwanda, and Uganda. Today, her followers see her as a role model and a true representation of inclusions and resistance to the norms that undermine sanctions of societies. Her spirit lives through the Rastafarian movement, where Maha Musa is referred to as Iya Bahinji. And this is Maha Musa hiding in a basket here. This is my reference here. I keep it paused here for a second. You can snapshot it, go through them, vent the sources. Excuse me. Again, like I said, I wasn't going to keep y'all too long. I just found this sister story very well as I was reading. Actually, I was doing some studies on the Tutsi and the Houthi people and trying to understand um, the massacre of some of those groups in a certain period. And I kind of ran across a little brief information on Maha Musa. And I started reading, I started digging, I started finding the story kind of interesting. So I kind of went back a little further because they kept talking about this religion, this new religion called the Iyabihin religion. They was talking about it was tied into this other queen who was also a warrior who helped her mother fall, and then she was assassinated by her own husband. She came back to Hunter, and then she started possessing the spirits of other women. And I just found it kind of interesting. So I said I'll try to throw something together real quick, to try to share her story um, with the family and how Mahusa was introduced to the religion and she got the following from that religion, and they rebelled against the Germans and the British that was in that area and fought um, and fought fought the Germans to try to push them out of Rwanda um, at this particular time. Um, I hope y'all enjoyed the little small presentations on Maha Musa. Go back, and check the video out. I hope it inspires some women. It kind of inspired me, as I continue to read certain things, deal with our story and deal with our history. Um, the 19th century, the 20th century, you know, um, we had our people, whether it was in America or whether it was in Africa on the continent or whether it was in the Caribbean or whether it was in South America, we fought against suppression. We fought against those who tried to bring hardships on our people. And those stories inspired me. And in somewhere as we got to the fifth, as we got the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, well, after that area, we began to become cowards. We fought for something that we believed in. We stand in. We wouldn't be compromised for anything. But somewhere down the line, we have become cowards, and we just sit back and complain instead of trying to strategize and do something, get ourselves out of this situation and get ourselves out of this oppression. So again, I hope you all enjoyed the presentation on Maha Musa and a brief history on Inya Binghi. Uh, Here, please subscribe to the channels that says you my Ani Meta Nature. We are a like-minded group of people who are striving to be scribes, who are studying the language, which is the Rani Kemet, and the writing script, which is the Session Meta Nature, which y'all know as the hieroglyphs. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have plenty of content on the channel. Also subscribe. Also go and um, to our Facebook page. It is also called Seshu Ma'ar Ni Meta Nature. Also, check out our website. It is also Seshu Ma'ar Ni Meta Nature. Where you can find some of the publications, the rebuttal book to Walter Williams, the beginner course of the Session Meta Netter. If you want to, you're interested in taking the class and learning the language, you can also register on there. Also, the penmanship book by Emmy Cat, who is also a member, female member of the Session Ma'ani Meta Nature group. Also, go if you hadn't subscribed to Kofi Piesie TV, please go and subscribe to Kofi Piesie TV. It is the Black Netflix. It is the channel that takes the black man, the black woman, and black child Eurocentric mind and Africanize it. So please subscribe, um, hit the notification bell. Also, please subscribe to the Master Warrior Clan channel. Subscribe to that channel. Anything you want to know about West African culture or African in general, whether it's West Africa, Central Africa, North Africa, Central Africa, please subscribe to the Master Warrior Clan channel. Also, check out our Facebook like page. It is also called Master Warrior Clan channel, where we have a lot of African history up on our like page as well. Please subscribe to the channel. Please support us. Please tell a friend and tell a friend and tell a friend and tell a friend about these channels. We don't get enough viewership. We don't get enough people riding behind us as we put in this hard work. You know what I'm saying? I know it's not entertainment. We get on here and we get the information out. We explain a little bit, but we don't go through the antics. We don't go through all the craziness. We don't go through all the name calling. So I know it may feel a little bit boring to our job is to disseminate or get this information out to the masses, or those who want to learn about the culture, want to learn about the traditions, want to learn about the different ways of life that's over there on the continent, as well as in the Caribbean, South America, as well as over here in America. So please support us. Please tell a friend and tell a friend and tell a friend and tell a friend about this channel. I can't go on and keep saying support, support, support. You support the BS, support the real too. Stop supporting the trash and start supporting uh, something other than trash. Um, that's all I have, man. This here is coming soon. The Master Warrior Clan channel. I don't know if it's going to be March the 10th right now. Nubia people, it might be still that date. Nubia people of the Nuba Mountains, the originator of the wrestling games, part 2. I did part 1. Last Sunday, I was a little sick up under the weather. I know I was a little dry presenting the presentation, but I wasn't feeling too hot. And I suppose I actually did the Maha Musa presentation last Sunday, but I had to cancel it because I was going to do a double hitter. So I just said I'll just do it on this Sunday. So um, if you hadn't checked out the Nuba people, the Nuba Mountains Part 1, go check that presentation out. And then this presentation here is coming soon. It's actually going to be talking about these people they say is the originators of the wrestling game. So I wanted to first with part 1 give you an idea of who the Nuba people were, which the Nuba people is really not their name. It is a name that the Greeks, not the Greeks, but the Arabs who came and invaded that area and took that area over, as well as the Europeans. The Arabs gave them the Nuba name. You know what I'm saying? As many foreigners come in different eras, we know that's nothing new. They give you a name, they name you. But it is 57 ethnic groups, and they all have their own different names, and they don't even know they call the Nuba people until they go outside of their own area, and people are calling them that name, and people recognize them by the Nuba people instead of their indigenous tribal name. Um, so be looking for that for March the 10th. I don't have what I'll be coming back with next week on the Master Warrior Clan channel, but it is the Winti presentation. It is a presentation about two religions, the Akumi from the Akan, the Akumi tradition from the Akan, and the Voodoo or the Vudan from the Togo and the Benin people who was enslaved into South America. And as they went into South America, um, out of West Africa, even though there was people from Central Africa that they took into South America at that time, we know that the uh, sugar and coffee was booming in that area then. So we'll talk about the British having it, and then from the British, the Dutch had it, and then you had more of a surge of West African people going into that area, and you had the Akan and you had the people from Togo and Benin who merged or synchronized both of their religion or their spiritual systems or their way of life and created something new Winti religion. So we'll talk about that, and we'll go into the location and or the area that they was target and they was went into, why they went into this area, and then you have so many different Maroons. We'll talk a little bit about the Maroons, but we'll go more and talk more about the Winti religion and what the Winti religions consist of and etc. and etc. And like I said, I don't have that on here again. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Um, I appreciate y'all for taking the time out. You know what I'm saying? I say that a lot because y'all could have been doing anything else with y'all time, but y'all uh, logged in, you know what I'm saying, and listening to my country voice as I present some information. Again, I hope this presentation inspire women as well as men, you know what I'm saying, that we can't give up. Um, we got to continue to fight. We got to continue to fight. We got to continue to for fight for those who are wronging us, who are strategizing to continue to keep us in oppression, to keep us in this spiral of chaos, confusion, downfall. Um, Before I had any Harriet Sean Calfunny and Vasa Nicolo. If they still on here, I'm sharing my screen. I can't see them. But if they still on here, if y'all got anything, man, or got, want to say anything, um, go ahead.
I'm good.
Wow, he said he good. He ain't got nothing to say. What about you, bro, Vasa?
It's a good presentation. I don't really have anything to add to it. I do have a question. I was looking at different articles, and they say her name is synonymous or cinnamon to Sekhmet. Did you come across any information saying that when you was doing
Yeah,
your
man,
research?
because yeah, I did, but I didn't want to present that because it was so much other information that I could have put on here, but it was kind of iffy. I couldn't find no sources to bag up some of this stuff, and then some of the stuff I looked at it was like the information was outdated. Like you have some that said, it referenced the segment. These people here, they actually came from Ethiopia, then they came from Kemet. I mean, it just was like a lot of information that was all over the place, and a lot of the information was like outdated. So I didn't even want to touch that, and I couldn't find some of the sources for some of the claims that they were saying. So I just said I wasn't going to put uh, that information in here. I just going to just deal with who is in y'all. Being who is she? The story behind her, the story of her assassination. I'll deal with the story of Maha Musa and how her husband was assassinated, how she was pushed out or exiled from the kingdom, and her father's, her husband's stepmother, it was in cahoots with the German colonialists and had raised her son, became over the throne. So I said I was going to deal with that and how Mahusa was linked to Inya Behin after she was pushed out. She was introduced to this new religion behind this other warrior queen who helped her father rebelled against certain people in the area and even with an issue that they had in Ethiopia at a particular time. And this is how the story, and then I wanted to deal with the Rastafarians because the Rastafarians got a hold of the story because they deal with the region of Ethiopia. You know what I'm saying? So they took the story, and her story still lives on through the Rastafarian movement, which the Rastafarian also has a religion, which is a little bit different because they talk about Jah, and they're saying that what's the name is the reincarnation of God, Selassie, whatever his name is, etc. So I just wanted to deal with those particular points and not go into they may be from here, they may be from here. She may be synonymous with Sekhmet and all these other things. I didn't want to touch that because a lot of that stuff was like really outdated, and I didn't want to deal with it.
I understand. I share the same sentiments. I was only asking in case anybody in the audience gets inspired to do research of their own that
Mm-hmm.
it needed to be a disclaimer to where we don't know whether or not that's factual or not, if you get where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
But outside
Yep.
of that, no, I don't have anything to add other than peace to everybody.
Yeah. And that's how it's spelled. Satekuru Winti or Winti. Wee. Well, that's how it's pronounced. Win Wee slash Tee if you pronouncing it right. Winti. But yeah, that's it, man. I'm looking and see if anybody got any questions in here. Um, no one has any questions in here. Again, appreciate the support. Wasn't going to keep y'all too long. Again, appreciate y'all. Uh, and we out of here, man. See y'all next Sunday on the Mossy Warrior Clan channel at 2 p.m. for the Winty presentation. I think y'all gonna like that presentation. And I'm going to continue to come back because a lot of this I talked about real quick. I talked about my African spirit, African religion, African spirituality, the how and the why, the concepts of the how and the why, part one and part two. So when I talked about, we always talk about African spirituality. I don't like to use the word African spirituality because that is a term that we coined here in America, and we use the word African spirituality because a lot of us doesn't know where we come from. You know what I'm saying? So we don't know if we're Nigerian. We don't know if we're Ghanese. We don't know if we're Congolese. Um, we don't know none of these things. So, um, and I'm using those because those are West African. We know that a lot of our people was kidnapped from West Africa, but not only West Africa, we had some of our people from Central Africa as well that was kidnapped that was in there too. You know, not as much as the people that was in West Africa, but we had those that was in Central Africa. So a lot of us come from Central Africa or are um, predominantly West Africa. So I talked about and I gave you a list of all of what we encase. That's why I say I don't like to use African spirituality because what we do is we encase every tradition or every spiritual system or every way of life into one. And again, they similar, but they are different. They have certain things that they use. We know they have ancestor worship. We know that they honor they honor the ancestors. We know that they have a rites of passes program. We know some do scarification, some don't. We know some do tattooing. We know some don't do tattooing. You know what I'm saying? So it's different. Some recognize the supreme being. Some recognize the deities that some deities are higher than the supreme being. So it's just different things. So we encompassing them all in one. And I'm saying it's wrong. I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna break down each one of those religions. So I mean those spiritual systems. So I gave you the name about 12, and there's 30,000 ethnic groups in Africa. And I'm not gonna walk through 30,000, but I'm gonna walk us through a lot of those different ones so we can kind of get an understanding because we know about the Ifa tradition. You know what I'm saying? That's know what we lot of what we talk about. We know about the Ghana tradition. You know what I'm saying? But we're gonna go and we're gonna walk through a lot of these other traditions in West Africa, and we're gonna walk through some in the Congo area as well. So stay tuned for those presentations as well. And we out of here, man.
Man in the full knowledge of himself is a superb and supreme creature of creation. When man becomes possessor of the knowledge of himself, he becomes master of his environment and captain of his own ship, the director of his own destiny, the accomplisher of his own ends. Man should understand himself because man is full of knowledge, and this knowledge is a gift of nature. When Mother Nature created man, she deprived him of nothing. He was given the faculty of understanding all things around him. This faculty for understanding has not been taken away from him. None of his senses have been taken away from him. So there is no excuse for the black man. I'm bridging my team, red, black, and green, queens and kings, salute, now scream, I should bring from another unit. I should five from a different frequency. I'm ripping my team, red, black, and green, queens and kings, salute, now scream, I should bring from another unit. I should five from a different frequency. I should.
Ashe. Ashe.